Hello, everyone, and welcome to KpJpflorida. In order to keep your wait time to a minimum, we ask that you please keep your group together, keep up with the party in front of you, and fill in all the available space. It is not necessary to form a single file line. If you are traveling with a stroller, please have children and valuables unloaded before you reach our stroller parking area. If you are traveling with someone in your home, please have this person keep your parking fee alive. This will help keep your wait time to a minimum. Once again, when you keep your group together, keep up with the party in front of you, and fill all when it comes to safari, we go wide. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilimanjaro Safari. In order to keep your wait time to a minimum,
as we are shuffling in, be sure to shift all the way down to that left-hand side. Looks like we've got quite the crew with us today. And also make sure that we like those seats we're sitting in, because there will be no switching and swapping once we get on the move. Alrighty, my friends, on that right-hand side, watch those hands, arms, feet, and legs. Any second now, those doors are going to come slide closed. Here they come. Asante Sana Hadley, as we say here in Harambe, Twin Day, which means let's go. Hello, friends. My name is Brenna with a Y from Missouri, and you guys are aboard the Simba 1. If I have any wilderness explorers on board, that is SIMBA1. You are going to want to remember that. Now, before we get headed into the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today, let's go over just a couple of safety tips. First, let's make sure we're keeping all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, as well as remaining completely seated. Let's also be sure to keep on those inside voices. Remember, this is their home, not ours. So if we get too loud out there, I can't get close to or stop for the animals. One more thing, if you're holding something in your hands, that is totally fine. Just be sure to hold on super tight to it. If you do drop something off my truck, be sure to let me know. We hope to have that item back to you by the end of the day. However, I can't promise that the other trucks or animals won't get to it first, so just be careful either way. I think that is everything. Looks like we are good to go. So, Twin Day friends, first off, we're headed into the Little Aturi Forest. The animals here in the forest use a lot of browns and grays to camouflage, so keep your eyes peeled. They could be anywhere. I know. Looks like we're having quite a bit of luck way over there to our right in that corner. We are seeing the okapi trying to hide from us there. The okapi are obviously very shy and timid animals. A lot of people think they're related to the zebra because of that black and white striped pattern on their booties, but they're actually the only known relative to the giraffe. We know this because of their long, prehensile tongues. Okapi tongues can grow so long, in fact, they can lick their own eyeballs. And they do. It's pretty gross. Having those straps on their hind legs or backs is another common theme for animals here in the forest. It helps them to blend in with the light shining through the trees. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for as we continue on here. Looks like we're going to be seeing some more of those striped prints on this hill to our right with that beautiful orangish color, and the horns we're seeing the bongo. The bongo will actually grow those horns on both the males and the females of their species. So the main way to tell the difference between them is going to be by the darkness of their coats. Male bongos have darker coats, and those coats will only get darker with age. A couple more striped friends up ahead to our left here. This beautiful grayish brownish color. We're seeing a couple of greater kudu. And these greater kudu can stand 55 inches at the shoulder, and in contrast, their bongo friends, they only grow their horns on the males of their species. So I guess you could say these females kudu without them. Just behind those kudu, we're seeing a feathered friend. That's the saddle-billed stork. Gets that name from the yellow saddle pattern on its beak, and can stand 5 feet tall with a 9-foot wingspan. That's about the width of that canopy above our heads. Alrighty, friends, looks like we are now headed out of the Little Aturi Forest, and we're headed into the Safi River. As we head into the Safi River, be sure to keep an eye out for any hippos we might see. Though hippos are pretty hard to see because they can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes underwater. Now, a group of hippos is known as a bloat. The leader of the bloat is decided by who has the biggest mouth. Pretty unconventional form of government, but sure. Not having much luck with those hippos just yet, but very visible on the shoreline, we are getting to see some pink-backed pelicans. Now, the pink-backed pelican get a pinkish color in their feathers during their mating seasons, and they're one of the only types of pelican to nest within the trees. So, unfortunately, they are great victims to deforestation. The hippos can open their mouths 4 feet wide. The incisors inside of their mouths are going to be around 18 inches long. That's about the length of the tip of your middle finger all the way down to your elbow. Those long incisors help hippos to chew hundreds of pounds of vegetation each day, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, results in quite a bit of waste. You can usually smell a hippo before you can see one. Fish will follow those hippos around and eat that waste, and then carnivorous birds, just like those pink-backed pelicans we met, will follow those fish around and eat those fish. So it's sort of like those hippos have a sort of sort of like hippos have a sort of ecosystem following them around at all times. It's like way back there over our left-hand shoulders, we've also got the back end of one. All right, friends, judging by the appearance of this bridge up ahead, it is going to be a pretty rickety one, so we're going to be extra careful as we approach. Okay, they did not tell me about this part. That's okay. Nobody panic. But it does look like just beneath the bridge on our left there, we do have some Nile crocodiles. So once again, we're going to be extra careful here. Those Nile crocodiles can grow to be around 18 feet long. That's as long as a giraffe is tall. These guys only need to eat once every around 10 days. So they spend a majority of that time staying real still, conserving that energy, just like we're seeing them do there. Now, crocodiles also make amazing parents. They use the warmth of their mouth to incubate their eggs. They even poke a little hole in the egg with their teeth to help baby hatch. Now, in case you're wondering, the main way to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile is by the shape of their snouts. Alligators have curved U-shaped snouts, while crocodiles have sharp V-shaped ones. However, if you run into either of these friends in the wild, please don't stick around long enough to figure that out. Coming up on our right, looks like we are going to be seeing the baobab tree, also known as the tree of life. It gets this nickname because of its ability to store thousands of gallons of water, which is especially crucial here in the savannah during drought seasons. All those holes and scrapes we see in the trunk of the baobab are from animals using their horns and tusks to tap into that water storage system. Now, as we head into the savannah, we can learn it is also called the grasslands, which tells us a lot about the animals that live here. Most of them are grazers, which means they get most, if not all, of their nutrients from the grass they eat. Looks like we've already got a couple of great examples of some grazing friends laying down in the grass here with those super large horns are the Ankole cattle. I think we're going to be getting a lot closer to them a little bit later on, but I'll still tell you about them. Ankole cattle horns can reach 6 feet from point to point, and although those horns look super heavy, they're actually very light. That's because they are filled with a honeycomb structure that helps out with blood circulation and cools the Ankole cattle down on hot days here in the savannah. So it's sort of like AC for the AC. So we've got a little bit more predatorial friends coming up just behind this cave on our left. Also one inside the cave. We've got some African wild dogs, also known as the painted dog. I'll try and get a closer look here. And these friends look super soft and cuddly, but do not underestimate them. Those painted dogs are notoriously good hunters. They are so good at hunting, in fact, that they almost hunted lions to the point of extinction. The one strategy that these painted dogs use is taking turns chasing their prey until that prey is exhausted. Strategies like this help these guys to come out with a 90% success rate while hunting. Also seeing some Hartman's Mountain zebras with those black and white stripes there. Now, the Hartman's Mountain zebra are the only type of zebra to grow something called a dewlap, which is a little piece of skin just below their jawline. A dewlap helps out with blood circulation, which is especially important for those guys because their hearts are 3 times the size of a normal plain zebra. Hanging out with the zebras there with those long curved horns, we also saw some sable antelopes. You might actually recognize those friends from the sign we saw right before we entered. They're the emblem for the Harambe Wildlife Reserve because they are fighters in nature and we like to fight for their conservation. We've seen another Ankole cattle on our left there, as well as some termite mounds. These termite mounds are harder than cement and act as lookouts and scratching posts for various animals here in the savannah. Coming up on a couple more of those Ankole cattle now, in addition to helping out with blood pressure, these horns also help out with sinus pressure. So during allergy season, the Ankole cattle will tip their heads back and forth and drain their sinuses into those horns. That's going to help out with headaches, and just congestion overall, something like that. As I'm sure you may have also noticed, a lot of our trees out here are cut to around that similar height, which is around 20 feet right now. That's because, again, those giraffes we were talking about stand around 18 to 19 feet tall. And just like those hippo incisors we learned about, giraffe tongues can reach up to 18 inches in length. So they do a lot of our landscaping out here for us, keep us nice and trimmed. Giraffe tongues are actually purple to keep from getting sunburned. That's how often those guys are eating. They eat anywhere from 16 to 20 hours out of a day, which, including traveling and socializing, only leaves for about 30 minutes of sleep. Living on that college kid schedule. I like it. Looks like we're going to be seeing some of those giraffes just up ahead here, but right before that, on either side of the truck, got a couple of wildebeests. These wildebeests will travel in herds during their Great Migration. These herds can reach up to 1.5 million. To put that in perspective for you guys, wildebeest herds during their Great Migration can be seen from a space satellite. That's how much dust they kick up. Get a great view of these Maasai giraffe on the left here this time. Now we know that these are Maasai giraffe because of their messy spotted pattern. Easy to remember that way. And a group of giraffes, as we're seeing to our left here, is known as a tower. Makes sense. Now giraffes, like us, have 7 vertebrae in those necks. The difference is, however, their vertebrae are the size of our heads. Other than that beautiful tower back there, looks like not much else going on for the last half of the savannah here. So we'll go ahead and head on into elephant country. So you know what that means. Anyway, with a lot of mud and water here in Africa, we can expect to see some elephants, and hopefully we do. We're going to be specifically looking for the African elephant. African elephants are, you guessed it, from Africa. And that's easy to remember because their ears resemble the continent of Africa. Elephants are the largest type of land mammal, reaching weights over 14,000 pounds in some cases. Despite that large size, elephants are terrified of the sight and sound of bees. There's a little gap in the trees, so we should be seeing him a little bit better up ahead here. But knowing that elephants are terrified of bees, farmers in Africa will surround their crops with something called beehive fences to help protect them from trampling elephants. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this also helps those elephants to avoid some pretty dangerous situations with those farmers as well. And because elephants never forget, when they hear or see these bees, they will warn the rest of their herd, and that herd will not return to that land for another 15 to 20 years. Talk about holding a grudge, right? These fences also provide sanctuary for the already dwindling bee population, as well as produce honey for the farmers to sell and provide for their families. So sounds like everybody wins. They're actually currently researching whether or not those bees then go on to pollinate the crops they surround. So it could be a win-win-win situation. Funding for that research is provided by the Disney Conservation Fund, which is a super cool thing to be a part of. Probably hear me talk about it a couple more times throughout our journey. Until then, looks like up ahead we are going to be surrounded by some red clay pits. So be sure to keep an eye out for any tusk marks we might see. Looks like we actually have some pretty deep ones here on the right, as well as some pretty big footprints on either side of the truck in the mud there. So it does appear that elephants have been here. This doesn't come as much of a surprise, though. Red clay is an elephant's favorite snack. That's because it's loaded down with a ton of healthy vitamins, and it's super yummy. Now, if you ever see elephants traveling in a herd, it's very safe to assume that those elephants are female. That's because female elephants kick the males out of the herd at the age of 15, and those males will travel alone for the rest of their lives. Now, that doesn't mean that those males don't get together for a boys' night every once in a while. However, when they do, it does get pretty territorial. So, of course, they don't do it often. Elephants are just like us humans in a lot of ways. They use their trunks to grab food and water from the ground and bring it to their mouths because their necks are too short to do so, just like we use our arms. They also use those trunks to throw that mud and water onto their backs to act as a protective layer between the harsh sun and their sensitive skin, just like we use sunscreen, which I hope you all put on today. It's a hot one. One way the elephants help their friends out here in the savannah is by digging their tusks deep into the ground during drought seasons to access the water supply beneath the surface. Then they'll be sure to leave those holes open for their friends to access, making sure everyone here in the savannah is nice and hydrated. If you couldn't tell by now, elephants love water, which is real convenient because they always have their trunks on. Looks like also up ahead we can expect to see some greater flamingos as well as 2 additional elephants out there. So again, probably female because they're hanging out in that herd. I have to let you guys know before we approach the flamingos, I have been hearing some commotion about some baby flamingos happening. Sorry, whoa, I'm all out of it. Long day so far. Yeah, actually, we're looking for any yellow eggs or gray fluff balls. They just do that. They're all right. They usually do sleep with one leg up like that, though. Yeah, they've also got those orange tags on their legs. That helps as well. As you can see, flamingos will start off with that grayish color, and then that grayness is going to fade with age. We as humans do the opposite, of course. Flamingos will get that beautiful pink color from the beta-carotene in the shrimp they eat. Knowing this, a lot of fishermen in Africa will use the pinkness of the flamingos on the shore to gauge how much shrimp is in the water before heading out on their boats. Alrighty, friends, looks like we are now headed back into the savannah. We're already seeing quite a bit of mud pits as well as one of those elephants real close up on the left here. 2 of them actually. Again, female. We're also seeing quite a bit of mud pits, as I said, which is going to make this the perfect spot for these white rhinos to hang out. White rhinos love to roll around in mud pits because it creates a layer between the sun and their skin, keeps insects away, and it's fun. White rhinos are very social creatures, so you'll usually see them hanging out in a group like this one. A group of rhinos is known as a crash. That's because rhinos do not have the best eyesight, so they tend to, crash into things quite a bit. However, where a rhino lacks in eyesight, it makes up for in hearing. A rhino's hearing is impeccable. Now, these white rhinos specifically get that name from the Afrikaans word "weit," which is actually mistranslated. It means wide instead of white, referring to their wide mouths, which they use to plow for grass here in the grasslands. Got a couple more on our right there as well. The tippy top of the hill. Hopefully we'll see some more of these friends as we get a little deeper into the grasslands here. Until then, I'm going to need some help on our left, spotting some cheetahs. Actually, I think I saw one just flop around back there. Not comfortable again, way there in the back in the shaded area. And I was going to say the cheetahs are notoriously hard to see during the day because they are daytime hunters, but we didn't have too much trouble at all. Those cheetahs can reach speeds up to 60 miles per hour, but they can only do so for a short amount of time, making them sprinters rather than runners. And I know it's hard to pull eyes away from those cheetahs there, but we do have our newest member of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve on this hill here. My baby white rhino is the newest member of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. They're only a couple months old. It only weighs about 900 pounds. It is. A couple more cheetahs up ahead here as well. And all of the cheetahs on our reserve today are female, so it's sort of like we got our own cheetah girls out here. And they are, in fact, sisters. The song is right. They stick together, you know. Group of cheetahs, as we're seeing, is known as a coalition, also a pretty cool group name. And cheetahs, like our house cats, actually meow instead of roaring. And also purr and chirp. Lots of noises from those ladies. Oh, perfect. Speaking of roaring, this big rock formation up ahead of us is called a kopje, which is obviously where those lions like to hang out. Lions love the elevation of kopjes because they can watch over their entire pride from the top. As we can see to our left, male lions have a mane that acts as a protective helmet while he stays back and protects the pride. You actually might recognize that handsome fellow. The live-action Lion King modeled Simba after him, so it's like you're meeting a celebrity, if the cheetah girls weren't enough for you guys. While the male stays back and protects the pride, the female lions, or lionesses, will go out and do all of the hunting. Female lions do that hunting at nighttime because at night, a lion's eyesight is 7 times what a human's is during the day. We have more rhinos to our right there. Does anyone remember what we called a group of rhinos? Crash. Great job. We'll see them hopefully again as we continue on as well. Loot. And as our friend back there was showing us, when lions aren't hunting or protecting the pride, they spend anywhere from 16 to 20 hours a day resting, which is probably where those other lionesses are. Wouldn't that be nice? Another friend we might recognize from the Lion King coming up on our left is going to be the warthog. All these holes in the ground we're going to see are warthog burrows. Warthogs use their tusks to build these burrows, and they even borrow burrows from other animals sometimes. Warthogs actually enter those burrows backwards to show off those tusks and seem more intimidating even while they sleep. Now, I know that we might recognize those warthogs as Pumbaa. However, Pumbaa in Swahili means foolish, so definitely wouldn't call them that to their faces at least. It's like also over our right hand shoulders here on the right side of this pathway, kind of just behind that divot in the dirt, we got a nest of ostrich eggs. Be sure to keep an eye out for mama ostrich anywhere nearby. Ostriches will lay those eggs in communities and take turns babysitting, or I guess in situations like this where they feel safe enough, they can go ahead and leave those eggs unattended. That's all right though. Ostrich eggs are super strong. They can hold the weight of an adult male without cracking. That's an adult human male. Alrighty, friends, and thank you guys for an amazing safari. You guys were awesome. Thank you guys for all your patience out there. Now it does look like our safari is sadly coming to an end, but before we leave, the warden asks us to check in on their Nigerian dwarf goats. Nigerian dwarf goats are crucial to remote village life. They offer dairy, a hearty meat source, and as we can see coming up on our left in just a moment here, they don't take up much room at all. Nigerian dwarf goats are also very social creatures. They do a lot of running and jumping and headbutting and climbing, and that all helps these guys to mature physically and socially. Looks like there's one in the truck there as well.
Oh, yeah, no,
If you'd like to see these friends a little bit closer up, be sure to check out Rafiki's Planet Watch. Rafiki's Planet Watch is a train. It'll take you over to our conservation station, and there you get to pet and cuddle with some farmyard animals, just like those guys. They've also got cows, pigs, sheep, donkeys, alpacas, as well as a really cool animation opportunity over there. They teach you how to draw some of your favorite Disney animal characters. Now, the last train to Rafiki's has that around 4:30, so I'll definitely head to that sooner rather than later. Got about an hour and a half left. Alrighty, friends, well, thank you again on behalf of myself and the entire Kilimanjaro Safari's crew for taking time out of your day to come visit me here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. And I know we met a ton of super intimidating animals out there today, but the number one predator in nature is actually us as humans. So, as these animals' number one predators, we also need to be their number one protectors. One of the ways we can help out with this is by reducing, reusing, and recycling, of course. Habitat destruction is a big reason. That's why a lot of those animals out there are endangered, or in some cases, completely extinct from the wild. As we are approaching our unload deck, now would be a great time to start gathering up all those personal possessions, phones, keys, wallets, kids, I don't know. If you guys have any questions about the animals we saw out there today, or if you want to tell me about your own animals at home, be sure to come up and see me at the front of the truck at the end of our journey. I would love to talk to you guys. Alrighty, friends, looks like Hannah's calling us in, so that does mean it is sadly time to say goodbye. However, here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye. It's much too sad. We did just spend 2 weeks together after all. Instead, we like the Swahili word kwaherini, which means to go well. So kwaherini, friends, go well, go wild, go make a difference, and have a great rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Alrighty, my friends, on that right-hand side, watch those hands, arms, feet, and legs. Those doors are sliding back open, and watch your heads and step down from the truck. Thanks again, guys. You were awesome. Go well, go